Seems like every week we got somebody missing from the old guys pod, and it was JT's turn this time. So no JT, Uncle T and Holden, Richie Smalls. Thanks for hitting the first like 2 hours before we were supposed to go on the air. I think that's kind of cool. We're early tonight. JT is Uncle T. We kind of made some fun when you had the surgery, but do you think JT's dead or dying?
Yeah. I don't. What's up, Yeezy? What's up, Richie? Yeah, I typically don't like to pile on too hard because I know you bastards will always remember it and get me back. But JT a little bit under the weather. I think he could have maybe made the later show, possibly. But yeah, hope JT's doing all right. Oh, and we'll talk about a little bit about the holiday stuff here in a minute, like we were going to talk about. But there isn't nothing. All kidding aside, when you're sick around the holidays, like 2 years ago, I literally missed every family function for like a week, and it was dreadful. I mean, it definitely isn't fun around the holidays when you want to spend time with your family and your kids and stuff. So, hope JT's feeling a little better.
That was really nice of you.
Well, it's a holiday season, Holden. I don't know. You should try it once. I mean, it makes you feel good. It's good for the soul. I don't know if it is. It just sounded good.
Don Yeezy. What's up, buddy? Uncle T. We got a lot to discuss. First of all, how was Uncle T's Christmas? What'd you do? Did you watch any football? Did you get a chance to get away from your family? Did anyone in your family annoy you? Were you very happy? Encompass all the Christmas.
If we go back a little bit, Holden, I don't play much. Obviously, I play a lot of DFS football, obviously, with the NFL every week. But as far as like head-to-head leagues and things like that, we just, and you don't remember because you don't remember anything we say, but we have a 16-team just family league, just a fun league, $50 everybody puts up, and it's a fun league, which is what I got the belt for back here. I got knocked out. I had the number one team all year long, and I got knocked out last week. And it kind of said, I kind of got upset for, 10 or 15 minutes, and then I moved on. But so that happened since the last time we talked. I got knocked out of my head-to-head league. But as far as, the last couple of weeks with holidays, Holden, it's my wife and I both have big families. So when Thanksgiving, or Christmas roll around, it's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, like to have bigger families to do stuff, but it is a lot of maneuvering in and out, going back and forth. I got to let the dog out every 4 or 5 hours, so it's like I'm coming home, letting her out, and then getting back. But hey, we're coming off last night. Holden got in about 3 a.m. this morning. Played a little 8-person. I think we had 9 maybe at one time. Little Texas Hold'em game at my mom's house with some family. So that was a lot of fun, and got a pocket full here to take to the card game here a little bit later. So yeah, as far as that goes, good, Holden. The kids always kind of get spoiled, like all kids for the most part do. And it's a good time though.
Good. I just sat down and watched football most of the day. Hung out with Cassandra for about 4 hours during the Philly Giants game, checked in from time to time with that one. Very profitable evening. I would say the Philly Giants game and then the late game on Christmas. But boy, that Chiefs game, man, I lost a lot of money. Thank God I won it back and more at night, but I was pissed off. Dude, the Chiefs are a mess, Uncle T. They're a total debacle right now. Whether it's not enough weapons for Mahomes or maybe it's Taylor Swift, no Eric Bieniemy. I think there's a lot of problems. This is easily the worst team that Mahomes has ever been on. This team is not doing anything in the playoffs. We're
definitely going through a stretch where the Chiefs haters, now Bengals go there this week and they'll probably have the game of their life. And because the Bengals have been, they let the Steelers kind of run up and down the field on them, which was very disappointing. But, they may play a good game this week. Obviously, the Bengals still holding out for playoff hope. We'll talk about that also here in a little bit. I think Kansas City will win that game. They usually play, those two teams usually play obviously really close games the last 4, 5, 6 times they've played. But, as far as the Chiefs in general, though, for the haters, and I've kind of been one the last couple of years with Tony and JSU and some of the other guys here, but they are Holden. They look like crap yesterday. Yesterday They may have looked worse yesterday than they have in a long time. I mean, they were completely out of sync. The times that Mahomes did have to throw the ball, he just couldn't find anybody open. And yeah, I mean, it could be it could be maybe a start of where they start kind of going down back down the hill a little bit and kind of coming back to that conference. But the thing is, in that conference, you got Denver, Las Vegas, and then we know the Chargers are a complete mess, right? So as far as that goes, they're in a good division, if you will, of the NFC or AFC. So I think they'll be okay from that standpoint. And Kelsey, did you see Kelsey's blow up on the side? They didn't. Yeah, they didn't.
Here's my thoughts on Kelsey, and we got a question from Richie on is he done? I think the guy's hurt. I think the guy, and I can't get in his head, but there's this Taylor Swift thing's got to be a distraction too. There's just too much going on. The guy's in a commercial every freaking break. He's got Taylor Swift hanging around. All they do is ask him about Taylor Swift. And he's got a lower body injury. If you'll remember, if it was his ankle or something like that, he's just not the same guy. In the beginning of the season, he was the same guy. He really was. But you got the news coming out, the ankle injury, which I've seen in 2 different games kind of sprung up. He's not getting any younger, but you can really key in on him too, because the only other guy making plays is Rashee Rice. That is a bad receiving core. And it's Kelsey and it's Rice, and it's literally nobody else. Like Justin Watson finally caught a pass for a touchdown. That offense is a mess. And I'm not sure that they're even able to run the ball enough. I'm a big Pacheco guy, but he's been stuffed from time to time. And I'm here. Let me get their schedule out. So they beat the Dolphins. They lost to the Eagles at home November 20th, 21-17. They beat the Raiders. They lost to the Packers by 8 in Lambeau. They lost at home to the Bills by 3. They beat the Patriots, and then they lost to the Raiders by 6 at home. I don't remember last time the Broncos and the Raiders beat the Chiefs in the same season. Broncos hadn't done it in like 5 or 6 years. They had 7 years they hadn't beaten the Chiefs. And now this team's just taking a step back. It's rough. It's rough if you're a Chiefs fan, I'm sure. I feel like they're going to be able to bounce back very quickly. They're going to need to get Mahomes, a guy like a T. Higgins or so. And I don't know if they can afford that either, because his contract's massive. The Chiefs are in trouble, man, this year. Going forward, I'm not too worried. They still got the best player in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I like Mahomes. I mean, I give the Chiefs a hard time. Obviously, Mahomes is really good, but Holden, we've seen though, like he can only do so much though. I mean, he's been frustrated more the last 2-3 weeks, and you can say that all these guys get frustrated at times, but Mahomes the last couple of years when things have gone well, I mean, you never see him have the blow-ups and the frustration and the a couple of weeks ago, right? He was yelling at after the Buffalo game. You just wouldn't see it. So I do think, I think the it's starting to compound. As far as the Kelsey thing goes, I do think that's a huge distraction. Not only for Kelsey, you have to think, Holden, that it's a good distraction for the rest of the team too, right? They're going along. They're trying to win games. They're trying to prepare every week. And then, like you mentioned, every other interview, even if it isn't Kelsey, for the most part, these guys are having to answer questions about that. So, but as far as the football part itself, just on the field, I do think they're just in a decline. What is Kelsey done? Probably not. But
By the way, I just found the best headline. I was just looking for this. Yoko Swifto. Fans mock video of Taylor Swift comforting Brittany Mahomes amid Chiefs downfall. Blame Taylor Swift for the downfall. That's absolutely terrific. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
By the way, Casey, she told me, Cassandra told me that Mahomes was talking about it in like People magazine or something, where he's getting interviews about it now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Again, I don't know all their cap situation. I know there's a couple questions, Jason and Richie talking about it, but I know Snyder keeps talking about how they're about the cap and stuff and how it's finally coming back to hurt them. I didn't know that it was that bad. I mean, who do they have that they're paying besides Mahomes right now? Is the guy on the defensive end? Holden, you're better with names than me.
I think
who?
I think Kelsey's getting paid pretty good, but it's
who's the guy on the defense? Who's the guy on the defense? Who's the defensive end that's really good? Jones.
And they've got Chris Jones.
Who's it? Yeah, Chris Jones. Yeah, I thought they were paying him a decent amount. But the point being, I don't know that it's just the cap stuff that Snyder's talking about. Anyway, I don't know. We spent probably too much time on this already.
I don't think we did. I think it's a great conversation, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, they're gonna get in the playoffs. They're probably gonna have to. What are they sitting right now? It might be a good segue to talk about the playoffs, Holden. We wanted to do it anyway.
Well, here they're gonna have a home game, no matter what. They're gonna win
because of the division. Right.
They're third, and they actually have the fourth best record, believe it or not, at 9-6. The Browns are 10-5. Joe fucking Flacco, man, holy moly, this guy.
Yeah, Woo! I've been hard on the Browns all year long because they're in the division with the Bengals for the most part, but I got to give them credit. I mean, how they're winning games is pretty amazing, to be honest. With Flacco coming, he was selling groceries right about 3-4 weeks ago, and now he's chucking it around the yard like he's 25 again. So I don't know how long that'll last. The team that I think in the AFC, Holden, that's been the most disappointing, especially over the last month or so, is Jacksonville. I mean, I just, they're sitting right now, what is still the 4 seed as an 8-6. And again, that's where that conference or that division, I think some of these teams are just benefiting from being in a bad division, right? And I don't know, the AFC is a lot less clear right now than the NFC, right? There's 4 teams that have already locked in a spot on the NFC side. I think the AFC, I mean, it's 11, 12 teams technically still alive with 2 weeks to go. So, I don't know what you think about the AFC. I think right now, and again, I take my L's at least currently, not going forward because I still don't think they're going to win it. But Baltimore, you got to give it up to them. I've kind of been like, I didn't think Lamar would, win games in the playoffs when it mattered, and that still may be true. We'll see, obviously, but you got to give him credit. He's been playing well. He lost Mark Andrews, a month ago at least or so, 4 weeks ago, and I think Andrews, other than Lamar, is clearly their best offensive weapon, and you got to give him credit. So I do want to throw that out there. Now, as far as getting into playoffs, we've all talked about the last few weeks where if Buffalo gets in, they may be the hottest team and maybe the most dangerous. Again, we'll see on that. And the jury's still not out on Miami being able to win away from home, right? So what do you think about the AFC, Holden, as far as like if other than Baltimore's got to be the clear-cut one right now, and not just because they're on top, just because of how they're playing as well.
Yeah, I've been telling you, man. That's my team. I got Lamar MVP futures at the beginning of the season, and that race can just change like this. It was a couple weeks ago. Oh, Purdy's the best. All week this week, Purdy's the best. You're shitting on Lamar Jackson. People still shitting on Lamar. Oh, his passer rating. He's more than a passer. There's a reason his legs. He uses his legs so much. The RPO, there's just some things that I don't think have been quantified analytically yet. And if they have, please let me know. Congratulations to Don Yeezy, too. I've been telling you the last 2 weeks, Flacco looks Cooper's way so much. And then Don Yeezy won $3K off of that. That was my best lineup, my Flacco Cooper lineup. I had 5 lineups this weekend. And that was my best one, too.
Holden, Holden, before your all's Up the Lock show last week on Sunday, I think the boys on the off the chalk and the whatever the hell they call it now, the block or whatever. I think Wiley even mentioned it way towards the end, right before the play of the day segment. I think he mentioned that Cooper unowned could have a monster day, and got to give it up to the Prez. I was
on off the chalk this week. I loved him. I'm just telling you right now, he's a guy. Maybe he has a hiccup this week or something like that, but he just looks Cooper's way. Cooper and Njoku. That's it. You don't throw to anybody else. Cooper and Njoku.
And Cooper's home road splits, and we don't talk about it a lot in football. We do it more in baseball and stuff sometimes or whatever with pitchers. But, JT, the guy, our friend that's not on the show, he usually talks about that too. He plays them at home, doesn't play them on the road. But, Richie brings up a good point too. The Rams are dangerous on the NFC. If we go over to the NFC, I think he's right and I'll tell you why. If they stay healthy with those 2 receivers, with Kupp and Puka, and then they've got Kyron healthy, I do think they are a very balanced team when they want to be. And as long as they don't get behind, you know what I mean? If they get into the playoffs and they don't get behind where they got to be one-dimensional, I do think the Rams are a team that could maybe surprise, maybe win a game that they shouldn't in the playoffs on the NFC side. And like I said, I just think the jury's still – I'm not a Cowboys guy. And, again, I'll come on here like I always will if I make a bad call and it comes back to haunt me. I just don't think Dak. I just don't trust him in the playoffs. And right now, the way Philly's playing. They didn't look great yesterday. Hurts came out for a little bit, went back in. But I don't really trust either one of them right now. And then you got San Francisco that just got blown out against the Ravens. So,
and they didn't lose because of Trent Williams' injury. They got blown out because Williams wasn't in there. Remember, they lost those 3 games. He was injured in 1. He missed 2. They lost 3. Then last night, they were going to lose that game anyways, but now Williams is down. If they don't have Williams, this whole thing is wide open. To me, though, the Niners are still clearly the best team in the NFL.
I would agree with you. Yeah, I would agree. But
in the NFC.
Are you
possibly the NFL?
I'm definitely a little bit worried, though, about the effort against the really good Baltimore defense at home, though. I mean, you could look at it as an outlier performance, but everybody talking about MVP with Purdy and, this and that. And, boy, he was awful. I mean, a couple of tip balls, but he was awful last night. And, again, I got to give it up to the Ravens. I do. I mean, they played a really, really good – they looked like the best team in the NFL last night, even if it was for 1 game.
So – it's crazy in the NFC because the Rams are in the 6th seed. I'm not saying they got it wrapped up at all. So the Rams and the Seahawks are 8-7, and their seeds are 6 and 7. Rams are 6, Seahawks are 7. Both teams are 8-7. Vikings 7-8, Falcons 7-8, Packers 7-8, Saints 7-8. The Vikings have major issues at quarterback. With Nick Mullins, fine, he was great for fantasy, but they tried Dobbs, didn't work. Now they're thinking about going back to Hall. I think they're up Schitt's Creek. The Falcons have a horrible head coach. They got 2 games left, though. They are 1 game out of a spot. Pretty fascinating that this poorly coached team, and they got the Bears and the Saints. I mean, that Saints game could be huge week 18. I was saying this earlier. Week 18, usually quarterbacks, the studs, the offenses, even defenses, they take time off. Every team might have something to play for. Even the shitty teams, they want to finish the season strong. They're not going to bench guys. So to me, as this stands right now, maybe, just maybe Green Bay would be the best of the 3 teams or the 4 teams that's out of the mix behind the Rams and the Seahawks. But I could easily see that ending up exactly the way that it is. And then in the AFC, it is the Ravens and everyone else. Dolphins 11-4. I don't trust them going on the road to Baltimore if that's got to happen. I just don't see it. If they get 2 home games, possibly, that would mean the Ravens get upset. But big win for the Dolphins, no question. But I think they're kind of like the Cowboys where you got to go on the road. I'm not trusting them. And their offense kind of slowed down even when Tyreek was in there. So, Tyreek dropped a huge baller in that game. Chiefs, we know their issues offensively. Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, AC spraining his shoulder. Listen, maybe he's not going to be the greatest quarterback ever, but I'm going to give him a pass right now. His shoulder is effed up, man. Really messed up. So I think that's kind of going to do them in. It's not going to get better anytime soon. Joe Flacco, great story, great for fantasy. Turns the ball over too much. That'll kill you in the playoffs. So that leads the Bills. The Bills are playing really good football right now. I still think the Ravens are better, but the Bills are playing great football. They're in the 6th seed. Colts had a tough loss, but look at this for the 7th seed. All these teams are 8-7. Colts, Texans, Steelers, Bengals. The Texans could get Stroud back. I think they win that over the Colts. And then you've got the Raiders at 7-8 and the Broncos at 7-8. Broncos are doing nothing. I don't think the Raiders are in it either. So it comes down to the Bengals, Steelers, Texans, Colts. Possibly the Bills because they got the Patriots and the Dolphins coming up. So again, so many teams. It's so messy, Uncle T, but I'm pretty excited. I'm really excited. I think a lot of teams should go after Justin Fields. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a productive. He runs. He's better than what the Falcons and the Steelers have right now.
Yeah, that'll be a better topic probably for another night, but I do like the topic of Fields in the offseason. But as far as what you mentioned on the playoffs, Holden, you got a couple interesting games this week as well, right? Because on Monday night, you have Minnesota and Green Bay. And while neither one of them are in, clearly the one that loses is out, right? They can't. So that's kind of a stay in game, not a play in game. That's a stay in the hunt game. Yeah. Minnesota and Green Bay. And then you have interconference. You have Seattle and Pittsburgh. Seattle holding the 7th spot. Pittsburgh still trying to get in, like you just mentioned. I think Seattle wins that game. And that may knock so while there isn't, I mean, if once we get into these games too, on the DFS side, you've got a lot of big spreads this week too. You got San Francisco, Buffalo, Philly, all given double figure, in points, 10 or more. You got the Chiefs giving 7 to the Bengals, who, again, I talked about that earlier. I think the Chiefs will play a pretty good game there against my Bengals, unfortunately. If the Bengals do somehow pull that off, obviously they'll stay in the hunt. And then they have the Browns holding. So for the Bengals to stay alive, they knock off somehow the Chiefs this week. They have Cleveland at home. Cleveland probably will wrap up, they're going near wrapped up a spot. Could Cleveland not want to play their guys in week 17? Possibly, depending on obviously the wins and losses this week. I get that. But could be a spot where if somehow the Bengals go on the road and keep the Chiefs where they're on this downward spiral, maybe the Bengals somehow sneak in. But I think the Bengals shot is about 20% right now. I don't know what the actual percentages are, but I think I'm with you. If Stroud comes back, they win. Who they got? So they got Tennessee at home this week. I don't know who they play in week 17, but I like the Texans like you do. The Colts are at home this week against Vegas. That for the most part should be a win, but the Vegas just went on the road to Kansas City. So a lot of good scenarios here, and it's a lot of fun to talk about. And it feels like with 2 weeks left, and you mentioned at the top of the segment of this, Holden, feels like there's so many more teams in it. With a couple weeks left. Normally we're talking about maybe one spot on each side available, or maybe two. Now you got only three playoff spots available in the NFC, currently 5 in the AFC that haven't been nailed down. So it's going to be a fun couple weeks.
So I want to drop something in the show chat, Uncle T. So before we get into anything, I just want to let people know that we went on early. We actually got
I sent something out.
Did you? You
can do it as well, but I sent something out in all the.
Yeah, I'll just remind everyone just to do that. Hit the like button, please. We'd really appreciate that. Tell your friends about the show. Old Guys Pod is live! ! And I dropped the link in there.
I made a small error when I mentioned that we needed somebody in case somebody was available. I told them I was on there with you, and I don't know if that was the best decision because they probably don't want to come on with you, but I'm here with you, Holden.
You put it in the coordinators chat, you donkey.
Well, no, I put it in both. I put it in the coordinator to see if we can get a third person on.
That was such a backhanded compliment. What up, Jason? It's good to see you in the chat. Let's go. 13 games. And then next week we're going to have the 16 gamer. That's week 18, right? Yeah. So we got a Thursday shitty game, Jets, Browns, Lions, Cowboys Saturday night. And you talked about Vikings, Packers on Monday night, but let's get in here. We got another great game. We're going to start off with Miami, Baltimore, but we go down position by position. Some of these games, Miami, Baltimore, super duper important game for both teams in that one. I would say the Raiders, Colts even is an important one as well. Pittsburgh, Seattle. It's going to be very important for Seattle. Cincinnati, Kansas City, Chargers, Denver. I think both teams are done. So what are we doing here? This is a first look, right? So how far down can we go? Looks like Tommy DeVito's out. I suppose if Ty God Taylor is in the mix here, 4-6 against the Rams. Rams defense is playing pretty well. If you're paying up, Hurts at 8-3 is just in a wonderful matchup against Arizona at home. You really got to like that. The aforementioned CJ Stroud, if he can play against Tennessee, I think it'll be good to see that. I see Brock Purdy bouncing back big time, Uncle T, at Washington. That sieve of a defense, absolutely keyed in on him right now. So there's a few names that I threw out at you. I think Purdy's the guy, at least for me. Just first look at 7K on DK.
Yeah, we got a 10-game early slate, right? 10 games at the 1 o'clock slate, and then only 3 in the late window for Sunday. But, and then you mentioned DeVito. He was disappointing. He was very hurtful for me. I had him. So holding in that first game a couple days ago there on the 3-gamer, I had a team with the Raiders D, who obviously had the back-to-back scores. Would they put up 22 or 23, something like that? And I had it with the only other early guys. I had it with Rice and Pacheco. So I'm thinking Rice, Pacheco, and then somehow I had the D, and they already got there, and they were trailing the whole game, right? It was perfect for those guys to both get, I think they both ended up in double figures, but neither one obviously scored. And I was like, man, that could have been an interesting combination, but never here nor there. It didn't work out. DeVito kind of crushed my hopes there when he got injured and the other guy came in. But as far as the quarterbacks this week, you mentioned Hurts again, 8,300. But hey, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Love to see him.
Snyder?
I think he was so shocked that I said so many kind things about his Ravens. He wanted to come on and say, Uncle T, I appreciate your honesty, right?
I just got home and I seen you put something in the coordinator's chat, so I just decided to jump on.
Holden said, what are you putting one in the coordinator's chat for? And this is why.
I didn't know Schneider was going to come on. If I knew Schneider was coming on, then I would have said, get him.
Love to see it.
Schneider, I love Lamar Jackson. The Ravens are winning the Super Bowl. End of discussion.
They played all right last night.
More than all right.
They played more all right.
Their defense is awesome. I really think they had I think they had Brock Purdy pissing in his pants. Seriously, there's dudes that were just defeated mentally and physically by the end of that game.
They play a different type of football. It's a man's game when they step on the field. It's no finesse NFL like they play in the NFC, similar to like the Big 12.
I'll say this, and again, I've already kind of choked them about how good they played last night. But when you played, no matter who it is, and we can both agree that San Francisco and Baltimore obviously are really, really good. But when you play downhill, when they got that lead and then they had the turnover, but you know what I mean? When you play and it happens quickly and they're playing that team that's on the roll and getting the turnovers is playing downhill, what we like to call, it doesn't matter who that other team is. And last night we saw it actually earlier in the year in a similar way when the Bengals went in there. Remember when the Bengals went in there and I thought San Francisco would beat Cincinnati. And at the time, Cincinnati just handed it to them. It was because they got the lead. They played downhill. They got the big turnover. And it was very similar last night to what the Ravens did. So, kudos to them, like I said. But let me finish up my quarterbacks here, and we'll let Snyder get in. Are you going to be here for the whole show, Snyder, hopefully?
Yeah, I can stay on for a while.
Nice. All right, good. But, yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts here holding 8,300. We know Arizona's defense clearly is not very good. 8,300. I didn't have any of him on the slate the other day. And, when he gets the 1-yarders, like it always seems like, I think it was Swift on the first touchdown, got all the way down to like the half-yard line. It looked like he was going to spin and get in. And everybody knows what's going to happen when they get down to the 1-yard line. And I didn't have Hurts that day, so it was disappointing. But, 27-23, he had the bad game against Dallas when they got blown out with 10 points, but 23-36. So, his floor is going to be, fairly good, in this matchup. So if you're wanting to go high, I do like him probably over Allen, but I kind of like Lamar in this matchup at home against Miami. I like Zay Flowers that we'll talk about here in a little bit with the wide receivers, but I like him a little bit. I'd probably have to rank those top 3 guys this week, Jackson, Hurts, and then Allen. And then 7,500 Mahomes. I just can't imagine at this point, even against the poorest Bengals defense, if there is a spot for Mahomes to maybe bust out with a 25 or 30 burger, it could be this one against Cincinnati, but he just hasn't shown it. And this Chiefs team, I don't know. I need to see something before I can go to Mahomes over those 3 ahead of him. And then going down, you mentioned Purdy. If he's available to play, which he should be, he's just in a smash spot. 7K against Washington, who I know they came back and won that game against the Jets. I still don't know how they got beat at the end, but they came back and took the lead, and then they gave up the last second field goal. But they looked awful in the first half. A lot of people on Twitter were saying they just, should just walk off the field, that they quit. And they really didn't. They came back and almost won that game. But on the cheap this week, I got 2 guys I'll mention. Kyler Murray, 6,300. If you want to go to the other side of that Philly game, Philly's been giving up points, at a pretty good rate. So I like Kyler Murray probably in a trailing game script. They're a 10, 11 point dog. So I kind of like Kyler Murray a little bit more than Hurts if I was giving it a point per dollar. And then Derek Carr, or I said Derek Carr, didn't I? I think he is 5,500 in the matchup against Tampa Bay, and he's been pretty good. I mean, if you look at Carr the last couple weeks, 28, 20, I don't know, 5,500. Again, it feels like they could be probably trailing, maybe playing from behind. Tampa Bay's been playing some good football. So Murray and Carr on the cheap.
Snyder, give us one quarterback.
I actually like Josh Allen quite a bit this week. I think we see the Bills just completely destroy the Patriots this week. I was actually on the Chargers last week because I thought it was a bad spot for the Bills, but I think this is a great spot for the Bills. Last year, we saw Josh Allen in a similar type of this. He threw for 5 touchdowns against this Patriots defense. So I think we could see Allen drop another 40-piece on these Patriots this week. So that's kind of my top quarterback that I'm looking at early on this week. I like the Bills. I think the Bills are just going to roll them here. I think it's going to be an ugly game there. It's going to set up next week's matchup with the Dolphins. So definitely like Josh Allen. And another guy I like, if CJ Stroud plays, I really like CJ Stroud at 7.1K. I think he's going to come back strong here. I mean, the Texans need this game. I've been on CJ Stroud for a good portion of the year when he's been healthy, and I think this is another good spot for the Texans where I usually like to target Vrabel as an underdog, but not on the road. Mainly when he's a home underdog, I like Vrabel, but I think CJ Stroud at 7-1 is a really good opportunity. And then I'm just going to keep playing Baker Mayfield, too, at 6-1. I actually like Tampa Bay to win this game, too. They're at home, a short favorite at home. He put up 33 a couple weeks ago at Green Bay. I think Baker Mayfield could have another solid game here, too, at 6-1.
All right, let's get to running back, guys. I'll start down to the bottom. If Jacobs is out again, it's Zamir White chalk week, 17.5 DK the last 2 weeks, and you can run on Indianapolis. So I think that is probably going to be a space I want to go. Devin Singletary, a little disappointing last week, but they get Tennessee at home. If Stroud is back, I think, that opens things up for him, and I really like it. Going up, Chuba Hubbard, 5,800, taking on Jacksonville. The production, I mean, he's not getting you a lot of points. Maybe a better, I don't even know about a cash game play, but at 5,800 and you're getting 17 to 25 touches, it's pretty remarkable what we've seen out of him so far. If Pacheco's back, maybe Pacheco. He got knocked out of last game. They got Cincinnati this week. Going up, James Cook against New England is just 7,100. I know he's coming off a tough game against the Chargers, but that's something I'm definitely interested in. Obviously, Uncle T, CMC, Kyron, Rashad White up top, all these guys super in play. And Jonathan Taylor, who I think, he got a nice workload. He got in the box. I would not mind him against the Raiders next week. So talk to me here. Give us a couple of running backs, Big Uncle T. Big Uncle T.
Yeah, at the top, CMC, 9,600. It's always tough for me when these top price guys, CMC on the running back side, back in beginning of the year when you had Jefferson and Hill and Chase and all those guys were way up there, and you have a point spread that's, sitting at what is it, 13.5? It'll probably be going to 14. I just don't know how the points are going to come in this game. They're coming off the big loss like we talked about earlier against the Ravens. Yeah. They're going to probably win this game fairly easily, you would think. I don't know how much they will want to grind CMC throughout this game. So for me, at least, again, on this Tuesday night, I think he could be a fairly easy fade. Obviously he's got the safest floor out of anybody, as we know. But I'd probably rather go down to Kyron Williams, save about $1,300 here, 8,300. He's been really, really good. And I think it's a pretty good, solid matchup as long as the weather holds in New York. I like Kyron Williams. Going down a little bit, he's been rough the last couple weeks just because the team's been so bad. But it is a nice matchup for ETN, 7,200 against Carolina. We all know that you can run against Carolina. They've done a pretty good job against the pass. So, again, he's coming off a couple subpar outings, but I think it's all due because the team's played so poorly. It's not been the best game script for him. So I do like ETN, maybe in a little bounce back spot. Eckler at 6,700. This is the Holden portion of the show where he strokes Austin Eckler.
I'm out on Eckler till next year.
Whoa, you are? That's breaking. Can you put a bulletin up that goes across the bottom? That's breaking news.
It hurt me bad, dude. It hurts to say that about Eckler. I love the guy, but
I mean,
it's not happening, dude.
That is the shocker of the old guys pod tonight. There, you love you some Austin Eckler.
Love me some Austin Eckler, but not this year.
Yeah, but 6,700 is enticing a little bit. But I don't like him at all. I'm going to go down a little bit. Even like DeAndre Swift, 6,500. It's a good matchup. Some of these matchups with the big point spreads, you're just going to have to figure out what kind of pieces you want from these games. Are you going to try to target the passing game and the quarterback, or are you going to try to get it through the running back and tight end? And we'll figure that out between now and Sunday. You mentioned Chuba Hubbard, 5,800. I like that as well. And then the easiest, Snyder, you play cash a lot more than me. I rarely play it. The White play, if Jacobs is out, White has to be the most easy lock $5,100 play, right? Almost has to be a lock. So I like that. If he's out. And then if you want 10 or 11 points, which is what he gets every single week, no more, no less, it seems like, Javonte Williams, 5,600. Now, I don't care much for Javonte Williams, but he seems like he gets between 8 and 12 every single week. So, but Zamir White will be the easy chalk play if Jacobs is out at 5,100.
Snyder, just a couple of running backs. I got to go get dinner, buddy.
Yeah, no problem.
Snyder, take your time. Hold on. I
got to get dinner, man. I'm hungry. I'm doing shows for 3 hours.
I give you that. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna keep playing Rashard White at 7,600. I mean, I play him every week. He's a lock for at least 15 points. He's got 30-point upside. I like Tampa Bay in this game anyway, so I think White's an easy play for me. James Cook is a great bounce back spot here against New England. I think Buffalo's gonna roll, so I like Cook in a positive game script here at 7-1. I'm not gonna play Kyron this week. I've been playing Kyron the last few weeks. I actually like the Giants in this game. We're seeing like 80% of the bets coming in on the Rams early, but the spreads dropped from 6.5 to 6. I think I'm going to be off of the Rams this week. I think this is a tricky spot for them, and I like the Giants. I'm going to be off Kyron Williams this week when I've been rostering him pretty much every other week. And I will say, I like Chuba and I like Zamir White as well. For some cheapy guys, just off first look.
So wide receiver guys, like button would be great. We'd appreciate it. Check out the site. It's absolutely amazing. Leonard Fournette season. He ended up getting like a kick return on accident in that last game.
I thought didn't he get 2 or 3 cracks inside the 5? I thought he did.
It didn't work. He's
playoff Lenny.
Playoff Lenny's coming at you, bro.
I think Uncle T might be faster than Lenny.
9,300 on DraftKings. The injury, he dropped the ball last week. He would have had a monster week if he catches that ball. I think it would have added about 13, 14 points to his total. But if I have 5 lineups, I'll have him in 1. Puka and Cup are now basically the same price. 8,100 for Puka, or 8,100 for Cup, 7,900 for Puka. I don't know how you fade Mike Evans right now if you want tournament upside. He has the upside of everyone, maybe even like Tyreek Hill. So you guys love Baker. You got to roll him out there with a little bit of Mike Evans again. Again, the San Francisco offense against Washington should be very, very popular at this point. Just looking a little farther down, Rashee Rice, 6,900. What are we doing here? We got you gotta ask yourself for the Chiefs that have finally scored points this week, and I guess you end up going from there. I'll let you guys take the cheapies. Talk to me here, Uncle T. Maybe a little Joshua Palmer action this week if you want to save a little cash at 4,900. What are we doing at wide receiver?
Yeah, I'll start at the bottom this time, or towards the bottom. A couple guys I got down there in the low 5K range that I think at least stand out to me on this Tuesday night. Like we talked about, if Stroud plays, right? If Stroud plays, Nico Collins came back last week, caught a touchdown. Noah Brown at 5,100 is a pretty cheap price tag there. If you wanted to chase another upside game by Pickens, 5,300, they get the $600 price increase after that 38 piece he put up against my Bengals. I don't know if I'll go there. And then if Pittman sits again, we got the cheap Indianapolis receivers, right? You got Downs at 5,400. Big Gabe Davis, he's either going to get you a 0 or he'll get you a 20 plus effort. So again, Snyder may like him because, he likes Allen quite a bit. Zay Flowers, I mentioned earlier, I play him quite a bit. He's the one guy on the Ravens that I feel like I play a little bit of every single week, and he's been pretty solid. One guy we haven't mentioned Holden in several weeks because his price tag just went crazy, and now it's back down a little bit, is Thielen, 5,900. Pretty good game script against the bad Jacksonville defense. And then Olave totally went off last week, and he's in another good spot. And then as you go up to the top of the board, I like Devonta Smith at 7,300 and save the price, the savings there, as opposed to AJ Brown at 8,600. AJ Brown's kind of been fine, 10, 11, 12, 15 points, but he hasn't had that real big upside that he was showing earlier in the year.
Snyder, wide receiver too.
Yeah, I'm going to keep playing Zay Flowers at 5.6K. He's had 20-plus DK points in 3 of the last 4 games. They're kind of really working him into the offense a lot more. Since Mark Andrews went down, they're really leaning on him to use him as a little bit of an extension of the run game and on the quick passing. So he's got the ability to break it away if he gets loose in the open space there. So I like him. Chris Godwin, 6-1, 3 straight games with double-digit targets. I think he's a solid option to look at this week. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba is always a guy that's going to find my pool. 4.8K. I love his upside, and he's been getting targets here the last few weeks. 7, 8, 9 targets about a game, it seems, the last 4 or 5 weeks. So he's a guy I'll be looking at. And I'm just looking at some of these cheaper guys. I don't really see myself looking to too aggressively target any of these guys yet. Maybe like a Parker Washington or something. I don't know. I didn't play him last week. I didn't know if he did any good. He was in the pool, but I never got to him as a cheapie. Maybe Khalil Shakur at 3.4K because I like Buffalo. I'll have him in the player pool some, but I like those mid-range guys though quite a bit, like Zay Flowers and Chris Godwin.
At tight end, if you want to save money with a little bit of a floor, I think Jonnu Smith with Heineke under center. Pitts is a little bit more expensive, so that might be somebody that you want to look at if you're saving money at the position. The whole Freiermuth thing didn't really make sense to me last week. He wasn't even targeted by Mason Rudolph. Rudolph's probably out there again next week, and Kyle Pitts is 4,100. He's coming off, a nice little outing where he got almost 14 DK points. So that's that. As we move up, Kittle's going to always be in play for big games. McBride, who had a down game last week, I think completely bounces back at 5,900. And if you want to get wacky, go play yourself some Travis Kelce, who's getting volume. He's just not getting in the end zone. It's as simple as that. Uncle T, I see a pretty weak at tight end. I think it's McBride McBride, Kittle, and spend down options.
Yeah, you mentioned Freiermuth. Boy, that was disappointing last week because I don't normally play him at all, and he's got the great matchup against my Bengals. And what do? They catch 2 bombs from their wide receivers, and then they get in the script where they don't need them. So that was kind of disappointing on how that game flow went with Pittsburgh jumping out to that big lead. But as far as the tight ends go, I mean, Kelce at 7,000. I don't know the last time I played Kelce. It had to have been earlier in the year in the first couple of weeks, but he has 7K. He's finally dropped down quite a bit, 7K. And if you wanted to make a stack with Mahomes, I mean, Holden, you mentioned Rashee Rice. I do think it's a fair price tag at 6.9. If you wanted to match it with Mahomes, I do think Kansas City's going to score against Cincinnati pretty good, to be honest with you. So if you wanted to go that route, I don't mind it this week. Normally I'd say I don't like it. It's been working for us, but I don't mind the 7K price tag on Kelce. And going down a little bit, again, it's kind of weak. You got Kmet there at 4,700, but it feels like Atlanta struggles a little bit against the tight end, but 4.7 feels a little heavy for Kmet. Taysom Hill finally got a little price decrease, 4,400 against Tampa Bay. That could be a nice spot. And this is the spot I was waiting for JT Hayes to be on the show this week. And I think this could be Holden. We're 40 minutes into the show. It's why he's not showing up. You and I thought he was sick. It's because he didn't want me to talk about this Okonkwo play from last week that I told him he was going to crush, and he made fun of me on the show. And then additionally, Holden, I didn't tell you this, he sent me a private message and said the Okonkwo play sucked. And so I think that could be the reason. He put up 18 for Uncle T last week. 3.6K, he got a little bit of a price bump, but he's still in a pretty good spot. And then one last tight end, K-Dot and 3,100 against the Saints. But yeah, JT Hayes, I know you're going to go back and watch. Okonkwo crushed your ass last week.
It's unfortunate. Good point, Brandon. Likely 4,600. DK, nice spot. Schneider, what do we got at tight end, buddy?
Yeah, I think Isaiah Likely is way underpriced here at 4.6K. He didn't have that good of a game last night, but I mean, the Ravens really weren't pushed at all in that game. They didn't even have to throw the ball at all in the second half. So he only had 3 for 56 last week, which was worse than the last 2 games when they were relying on him a little more. So I really like the price tag on Likely at 4.6 there. I think you can go with K-Met at 4.7 as well. I think the Bears are in a really good spot against the Falcons there at home as well. And I did play some Chig last week too, Uncle T. I was right there with you. I thought Chig was a solid play. He was strong. I think Dawson Knox is a fine punt down there too, if you want to go down there at 3K flat. I think the Bills are going to put up a bunch of points in that game, so maybe Knox finds the end zone in that game once or twice.
All right, guys.
See how I left Likely for you there, by the way?
Huh?
Love it.
I actually liked him, but no play on words. But I left him for Snyder. That's a good job by me.
Schneider. What up,
Schneider?
Kevin? What up, guys? I will not be here next week, and then we will do a show for the playoffs. We got to. I mean, if I'm missing, week 18, we'll do at least one playoff show. I'd like to do 2. Hopefully JT will show up. That'd be nice if he actually came here and did a show once in a while.
We're going to withhold 1 game check from you for missing next week. You never missed the last week, but
$0 he gets. Oh, you're going to do me. You're going to withhold 1. Okay. Well, what are you going to do? Snyder, thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Thanks,
no
Snyder.
problem, man.
Bang, hammer, or smash the like button on the way out for Uncle T and Snyder. I'm Holden.
Good luck this week.
Pure.